Every time you ham-handedly put Glimmer on a unit because you think they're strong, or Ignis on a unit because you think they're tough, Walter eats a kitten. And you know what? My daughter's cat didn't come back home last night, so thanks a lot. Not that I mind, I'm really tired of litter boxes, but you know what I mean. Greetings and salutations, my name is Deltran, talking about Fire Emblem Heroes on my commute home from work. And I've been talking to a couple people recently about skill inheritance and about special specifically. So I'm going to take a couple moments to sort of unload my ideas here and my heuristics or rules of thumb on what you do with all of these special skills that are out there whenever you're building your heroes. There's a couple different focus areas of skills that are available, and the first set I want to talk about are the generic damage dealing ones. I'm talking about Moonbow and Glimmer, Luna, Bonfire, Iceberg, Laces, and Ignis. That set of them. These are really there just to make sure that you can add extra damage onto things, but they're all used in different cases. So let me go ahead and talk about them briefly here. And so a lot of people will be looking at Moonbow and Glimmer first because they're quick cooldowns and they both pop, and a lot of people, sometimes people don't know which one to choose. A lot of people are picking Glimmer now because that was brought to a 2 cooldown several patches ago. It used to be 3, which is really nice. It's great for arena where fights tend to go really quick. It's also good for units that have some type of special proc, like Wu Dao is a very great example. If you have a Wu Dao weapon or if you have Wrath, you're probably going to want to have a special that has a cooldown of 2. Not guaranteed, but very likely. So the deal here is that Moonbow will ceremoniously take off a portion of your target's defenses, while Glimmer gives you extra damage based upon the damage you deal, okay? So as you can already tell from this, if you're fighting an armor target, you want to have Moonbow. If you're fighting a lightly armored target, you want to have Glimmer, usually. It's not always that cut and dry, though. Usually what I like to do is I like to take a look at their attack value, and if you have an attack value that is, with skills included, and I usually ignore buffs, but honestly, if you're building a team, you might as well take a look at the buffs. So if you're at your standard attack value that you're going to have on your unit is above 55, then Glimmer ends up being a good idea. Well, that seems cut and dry. Why would you want to go to something larger? Well, sometimes you need to have a hero that has some help once they've been getting into a fight. All of the 3 cooldown specials, and we're talking about, in the damage category, we're talking about Luna, Bonfire, and Ignis. These 3 skills, whenever you use them, the idea is that you are going to hopefully be doubling somebody. Because then you can initiate on somebody, you're going to get a hit in. They're going to go and retaliate back, and then you're going to get your other hit in. With that pattern, that means your special is now charged. You've gone through 3 fights that are 3 rounds of combat that way, and now your special is charged. And yeah, it also works out if you let yourself get doubled, then you can go into the next round with a completely charged special as well. Yes, sorry, math is hard sometimes. So hopefully you'll be able to take 1 more hit from somebody else and then proc Luna or the other special on the enemy such that you're going to get a nice pop of damage and hopefully kill them. That's the idea, is that you want to kill them. You don't want this to be necessarily additive damage, because if 2 hits would have already killed the enemy, having 1 of those hits proc your special is not going to help you. So that's how you want to structure that. Now, so Luna is Moonbow's big brother, and with Luna, this is a nice one to have. If you have units that are supposed to be a mixed purpose tank, in other words, they have a mediocre defense and a mediocre resistance, in the 20s. Also, if you have a unit that just has it just seems like it's not going anywhere, Luna tends to be a really good idea for these units as well, especially if they're like glass cannons and you need a 3-turn cooldown, like on a Brave Bow Archer that's quadding, in other words hitting 4 times per turn. This is a wonderful way to camp them off because it's going to ensure that they're going to have enough damage to finish off their targets. Bonfire and Iceberg, however, will key off of the defense or resistance, respectively, of that particular unit. And here's what I usually do. First of all, if you have one of those defenses like in the 32 range, from the way most of the heroes are built, that tends to be at least as good, if not getting better, than what you would have Luna on there for. Another rule of thumb is that even if you have that kind of a defense, like of 32, something like that. Sorry for having the frame being jarring, I misspoke. Completely opposite. If you have less than 20 points between your defense and your attack, then you're tending to want to go with Bonfire or Iceberg for that case, because they'll start to pull through better, even regardless of most other circumstances. So, where do Ignis and Glacies come in then? These are the big brothers to Bonfire and Iceberg. What you want to use those for is on units that seem to have a really weak attack overall, or have an okay attack that seems like that they have like a really high damage value but no speed. And then you want to do some other build trick, which is outside the scope of this video. You want to do some other build trick to either lower their cooldown rating, or you want to do something that lets them get more than one hit per turn, like with Quick Riposte. The short of it is that you can actually put Bonfire and Glacies on units that have an like not that great, like you could do it like down to like 27 in a particular defensive score. These are nice for units that are supposed to be flexible in who they defend, whether it's like, oh, I don't care if I block a sword user or a tome user, it doesn't matter because I'm equally terrible at both. Those kinds of units that can flip back and forth, these work out really well for them because they tend to have either kind of speed or kind of attack, and so this patches that up. I mean, with 80%, that's no joke. The idea here is that you need to charge this up through a normal round of fighting, and then use them to either attack first or still be able to take some sort of hit and retaliate and let that special proc. You don't need to build a unit such that Ignis or Glacies will proc in the exact same fight that, you know, like every round. You need to just make sure that they have enough time to have that charge up so that they can go ahead and swing on something, because then they're going to get basically a completely free kill on whatever they point themselves at right after that. It's ridiculous. Like, even if Luna would end up being a good choice for somebody, you can almost always, and this is why people just do it and it makes me so mad, you can almost always put Ignis or Glacies on them, and they are going to perform probably a little bit better. They're going to spar and duel with somebody, maybe you can send them off and have something get blocked, and then you go ahead and you initiate on somebody once that special is all charged up, and it kills them. I mean, it's crazy how powerful both of those skills are for raw damage, and if you have somebody who seems to be a little weak because of low speed or low attack, hopefully not both, but maybe even both, that means they have a lot of defenses, then that's how you're going to deal all your damage, is with Ignis or Glacies. Let's talk about the healing specials right now. In my opinion, they're not worth it. Unless you have mathed the crap out of something, Noontime and Soul are not worth it. They just aren't. There's some cute builds out there I see, and there's some nice things, but here's my problem with both of these skills. Actually, everything that heals. Here's my problem with the skill. Since they don't add to damage, they do not assist in eliminating the threats that you are facing, okay? So that means you are requiring these skills to activate at a time that it would basically give you enough hit points that you could continue to endure. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, duh, you're healing. Here's the problem. If you fight somebody at the end of a combat and you proc your Noontime or your Soul, you're going to kill that and if you kill that target, you're probably not going to get the full healing that you deserve and need in order to live. Because of this, I mean, I've seen it in videos all the time, like, oh yeah, I'm going to go ahead and proc Soul, here it goes, and the enemy had 10 hit points, so, you know, I get 5 back. That puts me up to 13 now. Woohoo! You can't engage anybody anymore. You can't fight anybody anymore. It was an absolutely poorly timed instance of things, and they probably, I mean, they obviously killed their opponent, so you know what, at that point in time, Ignis or Glacies is better, because then at least you'd be able to initiate on somebody afterwards and kill them. So, unless you think you know what you're doing, leave them alone. If you think you know what you're doing, leave them alone. If you've done a lot of math on it, sleep on it, come back the next day, and then consider it again. Now, Aether is the only one that I give a pass to on this for two reasons. One, it scores great arena points, and if you want to know what these have to do with arena scoring, I have a card for you right now with a video talking about arena and how the skills matter as far as how many points you get in arena. The other thing about Aether is that it deals damage while healing. I mean, it's Soul and Luna combined, okay? So it is useful in all of those circumstances where it's like, am I going to get healing so I stay on my feet? Great. Am I going to kill something so that I can stay on my feet? Great. It does it both. And with all the power creep that's been in a lot of armor stuff, it's very easy for all of the armor units to be able to proc this like every fight, and dragons to proc this every fight. So, you know, it has a great place. So, Aether is okay. Noontime, Soul, please, just don't bother. The last real set of skills to talk about in depth are AoEs. And these are very special because they can get you into trouble if you don't know what you're doing. So let's take just a moment to unpack them. First of all, within AoEs, there are several different skill types that hit various patterns on the map. To make things even more confusing, there's two other categories of AoEs outside of the elemental name type that change up how it acts as far as damage or area. The growing variants extend the range that that particular AoE is going to do, and a lot of people really like those. If you go with the Blazing series, however, these deal extra damage to the tune of 1.5 times what it should. Now, the beautiful thing about AoEs, other than the range that they hit at, is that it is all out of combat damage. What does that mean? That means spur buffs, drive buffs don't affect anything. That also means things like triangle advantage doesn't affect anything. Unless you're soloing, that's a little bit niche, but it does help out in a lot of corner cases where you're sitting there going, my hero should be able to do this, but you know what, they're spread thin and they just can't seem to kill that one guy quick enough. Guess what? AoEs are your friend. They are often looked down on because they can get you into trouble, especially in arena, where you put people's hit points into range where things like Brazen or Desperation or Vantage start taking hold. And yeah, that is a problem, but everybody has a way around that problem. There's a seal for that. The other thing that I really like about AoEs is that they do provide slightly more arena points than normal. So that's a really nice thing. So the thing to know about an AoE is you want to have it have a charge time similar to that of what we were just talking about with Ignis and Glacies. The idea here is that you can't trigger this in the middle of combat, so there's no reason to be like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and go into this fight and I'm going to trigger it like in the middle, or even worse, have one cooldown left and then have to start another initiation. You really want to get to the point where you can ideally have a unit that is slow enough to get doubled, and then on top of that, still hit the enemy back twice, usually with something like Quick Riposte. But there's or if you're an armor unit, you can go with a couple other options. And this lets you have a charge for the next round. It's really, really nice. You can also use a slaying weapon and just have a fast hero. That also works out super well. So then you're standing there with a fully charged AoE. You can initiate on somebody. It's a free hit that you're not getting retaliated on. So if you have a slow unit, that's great. You're not going to receive damage for that free damage. If you have a fast unit, then slightly doesn't matter to you. It's slightly different use case in the area, but immediately you're pounding the crap out of somebody and they're just going to die, and it's absolutely wonderful. The other thing is that, yeah, it goes into an area, and so you could go ahead and do a lot of cute things with that kind of AoE kind of damage, like give yourself Vantage if you're the fast type, so that even if you are hurt, you're going to be able to trigger off Vantage, get that one swing back on them, and guess what? You basically already got a free initiation on everybody right around there anyway. You're going to be able to keep moving on, and it's really, really nice. So I would definitely consider, if you have a unit that already has an AoE on it, play around with it. give it some love. See what you could do with. If you keep on getting so lazy and you already have 10 4-stars sitting there that you're ready to merge one day when you get the feathers, when you get your 11th, go ahead and try out her AoE. It's really, really effective, and it opens up a wide range of play. So the only damage dealing special I haven't talked about is Astra, and I'm going to be blunt with you, it's not really worth talking about. However, it does have a use case in that if you get yourself in trouble, you can use Astra to get yourself out. What I mean is that 2.5 times damage is amazing, and I have so many times have I used Ryoma, who comes with Astra, to kill Effie, who should just not be able to kill Effie, okay? But I have gotten in bad situations in Arena, I've gotten in bad situations in Tempest Trials and in other maps where I had a unit that had Astra and the enemy was there. I couldn't kill them with the rest of my team because of distant counter or something like that, and I was able to use Astra to get me out of a tight spot. That is its purpose. That is also why it's not used, because who wants to plan to always be in a terrible spot? That just doesn't happen. If that sounds like you, then you know what? Give Astra a shot. It's going to let you pull off some kills that you just shouldn't be able to do. So that's the last of the damage dealing specials. There are more to talk about. And briefly, we'll start with the ones that are purely defensive that you would still put on a unit that you expect to kill a lot of things, and that would be the ones that minimize damage at a range or in melee combat. So we're talking about Pavis or Pavias, I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm so sorry, and Shuchin, I don't know how to pronounce that one either. And then you're also talking about Sacred Cowl and Aegis. I don't know how to pronounce any of these guys. So the purpose of these skills is to slow down the damage going on to a unit, and these also work out really well on a mixed bulk tank, somebody who has mid to high 20s in both of their defensive stats. It's nice for them because it will slow down the damage that they're being dealt immensely, and it actually lets them continue to tank. The problem with those guys is that they just, if you're a jack of all trades, you're a master of none, and strategy games really, really, really reward you for not having flexibility, such that, like, oh, this is Lucas. He blocks melee. He does not block magic. So, I mean, if you can have a mixed bulk tank, you need to include one or the other of these, in my opinion, so that you can reliably tank one particular style of fighting. So, you know, you're taking your generalist and making them more specific. Of course that works. It's really great to combine these guys with a slaying weapon, just like everything else, because then you're gonna have that trigger so often, and if you abuse things like defensive tiles, you're gonna have a unit that's really enduring. This is great on super fast units that have an okay attack, not a great attack. If they have a great attack and a great speed, that's wonderful. Otherwise, if you have a fast unit, somebody's not going to get doubled a lot, but who is going to be doubling others often, it's really nice because you're going to be charging it up. Every time you get hit, the damage gets minimized. And so really, the damage that you're putting down is like bonus, practically. It is wonderful if you are worried about somebody not lasting long enough because they're mixed bulk. If you're worried about a particular unit that usually does good damage, it doesn't seem to need a special, go ahead and give this a shot, especially if they got a slaying weapon. It's really undersold, and if you put one of the specials there that lets you get, and if you put shield pulse on them in addition to that, it's just stupid. They can't die. There's lots of cute tricks you can do with things like Miracle. I'm not going to go through all of them. That's a whole video in and of itself, and this one's already running pretty long. There's also all of the buffing healing skills, and there's so many things within that realm. Those are all basically a video in and of themselves as well. If you care about any of those, let me know down in the comments. If you want to know about how best to use sets of A, B, and C skills for inheritance, also let me know, because honestly, this came about because of a conversation that I had with somebody, and I'm not intending on continuing this conversation, but if you want me to, well, just say so, and it'll actually put it in my mind. And yeah, that's how most of these Deltran drives discussing videos come about. Is something I read, something I talked to about with somebody, just sticks in my head and it won't go away. So I hope this was useful to you. Put your comments and questions down below, and do me a favor, if you like your Fire Emblem information hot and fresh like grandma's cookies, hit that subscribe button. My name is Deltran. Thank you guys so much. I greatly appreciate all of you, and until next time, take it easy. I'll get home one day, I swear.